name's Paul Kanyeki. I've been in commercial and general management currently. I've been in this field for over 18 years now. I'm currently the area manager for Northeast Africa for Bacardi Martini. I think that's an interesting question because I think for any human being, there has to be something that motivates you or inspires you to get into something. So mine is twofold. One is my dad had been in the commercial role for very long, and I admired in how he was working. And with that, I think came the affinity to liking into getting into sales at that point and marketing. And then the second part, I think, is one thing to say you're inspired, you want to do sales and marketing, but that has to be combined with some form of character. Because if your character is not that one of being friendly, wanting to be with people, then you'll find it very difficult. So for me, that's the other thing. I looked at what my character was like, and it resonated very well with the field in which I finally ventured into. So I think I would probably classify it into those two easily on what inspired me to get into that. Good question. I think I'll break that down into several things. One is any commercial role, and commercial in this case would be a sales or marketing, it's the most rewarding job that you don't have to wait for the results after a month. Within the day, or even as you interact with a customer, you get the instant results. Did you do a good job or did you not do a good job? So it's instant, and I always tell people, even the ones I work with, if you don't get that kick, that basic kick of appreciating that, then you're probably not in the right profession. So that's the one thing. I think the one thing is that it's easy. You get the results and it's very fulfilling for me. That's the first one. And then the second one is the people, because the people who you work with, as you lead them, as you guide them on what the results would be. You know, it's very important to put your vision out there, get the buy-in from the people, and then ultimately as you execute and roll out, when the results start streaming in and you look at the people who you were with and what you've ended up achieving, I think that for me is very gratifying. I think for me it's several things, because part of what I've been able to deal with over the last 17 years have been brands. And the one thing is knowing if you have a brand, I think is looking at the whole process from what is this brand, how does it fit in with the consumer need, and then working out from the launch to the rollout, the execution, and ultimately the consumer resonating with that brand and appreciating. That, I think, for me is a big thing. The second one is also the people, because you work with people to get things done. Whereas you delegate and supervise, there's that reward in knowing that as you inspire people to get things done, when the results are out, I think it's the impact you leave even with the people that you're working with, in how they feel about themselves and the achievement that they have gotten. So it's not only just about yourself, and more so in leadership, it's the impact that you also have with the people that you work with. I think for me it's tough, but it's simple. Is going to work and not feeling like you're going to work, because you're doing what you love doing. It's as simple as that. And as you're doing it, guess what? As you're doing it, people get to recognize, because it's what you love doing. And as you do that, naturally, you get to grow as a person, because you'll be given different tasks that you have to do. And as you get to deliver on those, that's when people recognize your talent and your capability. And it stems back, you have to love what you do. And so for me, it's a simple philosophy. Is where I have to go to work, and I really don't feel like I'm going to work. I'm doing what I love. I think in this digital age that we've gotten into, there are very many things, and especially for us who are in the commercial role. One is there are a lot of virtual meetings that you'll have to have, even as you're working through the day. So the phone definitely has to offer me the opportunity to get to take those virtual calls. The second is the connectivity to internet. It has to be something that connects very well to the internet. And in this case, I look at the Phantom 2, it's 5G. And so the connectivity is quite seamless. And that I think is a very big feature. The third one would be in terms of memory, because there's a lot of things that you need to store. And finally, I think it's the camera. If I look at the camera, the clarity, I think it's a big one. And if I look at the field I'm in, there's a lot of things that you have to pick while in the trade. And as you're picking that, you have to take a lot of images. So the clarity of the image is good, because you also want to, because if the industry I'm in is in liquor, so there are times you have to take images in the night. So if you're taking in the night, the clarity is pretty important. If you have a very weak camera, you'll not probably get to pick out of what you want. And I think the camera or the Phantom X, I think is, in my view, second to none so far in terms of what I've seen. So I think for me, those would be the key three things. The connectivity, the battery, as well as the camera. And I think that's part of what I really need as I'm working. When the phone was being delivered to me, it was brought to me by a rider. And when the rider brought it to me, it was in an envelope, these big A1 envelopes. And when I saw what he was holding, first of all, I couldn't appreciate that is a phone that is packaged. I thought it was a wrong rider delivering something. So when he passed it on to me, and I unboxed it, I was in front of my wife. So when I removed from the A1, I mean, the packaging in itself, because it was black, and it was looking this very fine, nice packaging with a very bold writing of Phantom 2X. And the first impression was how slender it was. Yeah. And then that for me was a signature of finesse to begin with. And that's extrinsics. That's what I'm seeing on the outside. But I wouldn't want to leave it on what I just saw on the outside, because there's some beautiful intrinsic things that I saw when I opened up, because you had to slide it, not open up, you had to slide it open. And when sliding it open, it had all these compartments of where the phone was, where the battery was, where the cover was. And I think that in itself, if not anything, that for me is a signature of a premium product. And it should be something that a consumer would feel wowed based on the money that they have put in. So I wouldn't want to call it value for money. Value would be an understatement. I think it is something that exceeds what I would call expectations in terms of presentation for the first time. I'll actually even look at it differently. I'll use my own scaling of 1 to 10. And I would give it right now 10 over 10. I've used it now for almost 3 weeks now. And I've used it on my default line. And the other phone that I'm using, if I try and look at every time I want to go to social media, because I've put both features in the same, WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, they're all in both phones. My inclination of wanting to use, because of the size of the screen, the clarity of the images that I take, from the experience of how I unpacked it, the camera, if I look at all those, saying it is a good phone is an understatement. I think it is one gadget that everyone should be looking into now. There are many big brand names now. And there's a lot of what may be sold within value, mainstream, and premium. This, for me, clearly is in the premium category. And not just because of the price at which it is being sold at, because of the features that it holds.